So today's webinar, we're going to talk about some of the common problems in the world of cybersecurity management today and talk about some solutions for addressing that. Specifically, we'll be talking about our Cyber Advantage management platform, which we think is revolutionizing the industry. Just a little bit about myself and CRI Advantage. My name is Troy Taylor, and I'm the head of cybersecurity at CRI Advantage. And today I am going to be talking about our solution. I have over 30 years of experience in cybersecurity and information technology, and I hearken way back to the old days of cybersecurity. I got my start. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Captain Crunch. Going back, it was once called in 2600 magazine the golden era of cybersecurity, but Captain Crunch was a gentleman who, I guess back then you could have called him a security tester, and he discovered that if there was a whistle in a box of Captain Crunch cereal, and he realized when you blew that whistle into the phone, it would take over the operator's trunk and you would get operator privileges on the telephone switching network. And mind you, this is back in the 80s. But so my experience in cybersecurity goes well back 40 years. I was the head of information security for the printer division at Hewlett Packard back in the early aughts. And from there, I've worked as a CIO and a CISO for several companies. CRI Advantage, we've been around for over 30 years, and we have quite a bit of experience in cybersecurity and in information technology, from the very large like Hewlett Packard, and we've helped all the way down to the very small with just a handful of employees. This webinar isn't strictly about our platform. It's kind of talking about a problem. We seek to be educational and share information about some of the hurdles we see in cybersecurity management today. First, kind of talk about what the problems are in the industry. We're going to talk about what we want our security management goals to be, and then we're going to talk about what the current state is. Mention how our solution meets that need and some of the key principles. And then we're going to talk about how those principles fulfill the goals. So let's talk about some of the problems in the industry right now. So, there was a time way back when the goal of a CISO was to protect the borders at all costs and nobody shall enter herein. And there's kind of been this paradigm shift in thinking, and that it's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Almost every company is going to experience some cyber event at some point. And it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of impacting, minimizing the impact of those occurrences when they do occur. IBM's cost of a breach report pointed out that you can save on the event of a breach up to 80% of the cost of a breach by having a robust cybersecurity program in place. 80% cost savings with a robust cybersecurity program in place. Our SMBs are under siege. SMBs are one of the key focus of our cybersecurity practice. We feel that they are underserved in the industry, and over half of all attacks that happen out there are focused on the SMB market, over half the attacks. And 60% of SMBs go out of business within 6 months of a ransomware attack. 60% of all SMBs that suffer a ransomware attack go out of business within 6 months. That's a very scary statistic right there. The average ransom paid for a ransomware attack just 4 years ago was a little over 100,000, and this year so far, the average ransomware attack ransom paid was nearing $1 million. That's a 8-fold increase in average ransom costs. So it's no wonder that CISOs are feeling stressed and burned out. One survey showed that 1/3 of all CISOs are planning to quit their job due to stress. 1/3 of CISOs. 20% say a big challenge of theirs is finding a team that has the right skill sets. Historically, the way CISOs have managed their cybersecurity program is it started back in the day with your binders, right? There was a big binder of information that was stuck on a shelf, and you'd pull that binder out and you'd open it up, and it would have all your operating procedures and all your plans, and that was the way it was done up until around, you know, the early aughts. And I remember my days at HP when I came on board, there was still literally the binder that was used. And then that migrated and morphed into like spreadsheets. So CISOs are traditionally, even today, using some version of spreadsheets and manila folders to manage their cybersecurity programs. Time is spent gathering, organizing, tracking evidence that shows they're compliant with the regulations, shows they're doing their controls, et cetera, and so forth. And we believe we can save CISOs up to 80% of their time. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, so, you know, as we do our jobs as CISOs, there are certain hidden fears down inside of us that we don't voice to the management, to our coworkers, right? These are inner fears that we kind of help to ourselves. Most of these bullet points I've heard from clients when they were being frank and honest with how to handle them. You know, they're worried that as they dig into their existing program, if they have one, hopefully everybody does, that they'll find more and more, and the deeper you dig, the deeper the hole. You know, it's like down the rabbit hole for Alice in Wonderland, right? And they're afraid of uncovering that. They kind of have a basic program up, but they don't know how to take the next step and where to go. They don't even know, you know, secretly they're like, I think I'm compliant with all the current regulations, but I'm worried maybe I'm missing one or two. They worry, you know, that their customer data is going to be compromised, and that their reputation as a CISO and their company's reputation will take a hit. Financial impact on the business. Are their current cybersecurity processes up to snuff? How do you communicate with the senior executive, with the board? What is the best way to approach that? They're worried about this war of escalation. One of the big things going on right now is machine learning and artificial intelligence. And up until recently, I stepped away from it, but I was actually working on a PhD that involved machine learning and data science. And so this is a war of escalations. We have things like Carbon Black and Dark Trace, and we have a lot of solutions that have ML. The bad guys are starting to use machine learning and AI to test their skills at penetrating AI and ML powered recognition routines to practice against these types of environments. So it's a war of escalation, and do not underestimate the opponents. A lot of these are state actors, well-funded foreign governments, and bad actors. And sometimes they worry about a lack of staff knowledge. So, you know, in cybersecurity, we all have the same goals, right? We all have a desire to have a company that has a robust cybersecurity program. You know, some of the things you really want to do, you want to gain confidence. You want to say, you know, I can sleep when the wind blows. You know, there's an old fable about a gentleman who was working as a ranch hand, and the ranch owner went to him, and he was sleeping in the barn, and he was like, there's a storm, there's a storm. And the guy always said, I can sleep with the wind blows, and he wouldn't wake up. That's because he had done his job and everything was battened down and all the hay was secured, and he could sleep when the wind blew because he knew that his house was in order. You know, we want to help you master the complexity of cybersecurity. We want to help you comply with regulations. We want to help you communicate with your executive board. Basically, we want you to stop worrying about your cybersecurity. So let's talk about the evolution of cybersecurity management. You know, a lot of people wonder, you know, if this platform that we were selling, the CRI Advantage cybersecurity management platform, if it's so great, why wasn't it done before? Well, that's because it's taken an evolution of cybersecurity management to really get to where we're at today. And I call that Security 4.0. You know, Security 1.0 was that folder on the shelf that had all your operating procedures and all your plans and everything typed up and put in a binder. And one of the huge problems with that is it became dated very quickly. You were lucky if you pulled that binder off the shelf and you did, you know, incident response drills and you practiced disaster recovery tabletop exercise. You know, it usually didn't happen. I know several companies where I went in, they showed me their binder, literally, and I was like, okay, when was the last time it was updated? 3 years. It'd been 3 years since they'd looked at it. So that was Security 1.0. Security 2.0 is the age of Excel spreadsheets, right? And I think this is very common across most of the industry right now, with a little bit of sprinkling of Security 3.0 that I'll talk about in a second. But that is spreadsheets. You got your spreadsheet of controls, and you have all these fancy spreadsheets trying to run your security program. And then, you know, starting about 10 years ago, we had this rise of GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, taking a risk-based approach to security. And the problem with GRC is that there seems to be this fragmentation of tools, and we'll talk about this on the next slide, but it's very siloed, and you have to buy 6 different tools to run a cybersecurity program. And that was a big problem for me. So it kind of took this evolution. So why didn't we have the Cyber Advantage management platform before this? Well, it wasn't ready. Now we've, you know, the whole practice of security management has evolved to the point where this solution makes sense. So let's talk about how this platform is different from others and address this a little bit about the siloing. So there is managed incident response out there, aka SOAR. And SOAR stands for Security Orchestration and Automation and Response. And really good management is a lot more than this, and I'll talk about this as I go through the rest of the webinar. But so there are some solutions out there. We view that as just one silo. So when you go out in the market and you're trying to find a way to manage your cybersecurity program, a one-stop shop, you end up buying risk management software. You have to via virtual CISO services, security engineers, incident response component, and you got to connect that in. And in the last few years, I was like, gosh, we really need a one-stop shop, one platform. You know, to steal a line from Lord of the Rings, we need one platform to rule them all, right? So we need one solution that does many things for us. So let's talk about this solution a little bit. I was just tickled pink when I came across the CMP. We thought this was the perfect solution, and it goes beyond virtual CISO. It goes beyond governance, risk, and compliance component. It has that. It goes beyond modern technology. You know, it solves our key problems. all in one platform. It is a tool, a complete tool to do 7 major functional areas of a security management program all in one platform. So let's talk about where it fits in, where this platform fits in. One second while I adjust my screen here. There we go. So, you know, in business, we have our decision makers. That's our CEO, our board of trustees. Maybe security is a director position in your company, or even a manager position that reports in. I've seen it report into CFO. I've seen it report into the CIO. Don't get me on that soapbox. I think security should report in higher than the IT level. There's this management layer that historically I believe has been missing. So you got your technical execution layer, you have your tools and everything, and then you have your decision makers. And really what's been missing is this gap between the business decision makers and the technical layers. And I think that this is kind of the layer where the CMP fits in extremely well. One of the things I've seen as I've worked in industry is this ability to expose information at an executive or board level that makes sense to non-security professionals. And I've seen a big need in the market around this, and also not vanity metrics. I think we've all been guilty of vanity metrics in our careers, right? That's where you like take a stat off the firewall and it says our firewall blocked 10,000 attacks, right? Well, yeah, that's what a firewall is supposed to do, but counting that and saying how many you blocked isn't really telling the executive levels anything of real importance. And I call that a vanity metric, a vanity metric. You should be telling your executives things like, how robust is my security program? How much areas are we covering? Are we covering all the pillars of cybersecurity? What is our roadmap to improve the areas where we're weak? How do we quickly see the areas where we're weak? And this is where the CMP shines. This is where the CMP shines, because it gives you already pre-configured reports that it takes your data, it boils it down, and generates a report at an executive level of audience. So let's talk about some of the key principles in security management. So one is, like I was talking about already, we want a platform that is a single platform that allows us to manage everything from a single pane of glass, as it were. You know, we want to try to deduplicate. We want to lessen so many times inside of these companies as I'm talking to them, I see duplication of efforts on the behalf of the security staff. And if we can eliminate that and make sure everybody has their jobs to do and that they do them, and the CISO isn't having to chase down people to provide evidence. Did the vulnerability scan get completed? Where is the report? Have we addressed the findings? How did our last audit go? You know, are the findings completed? Things like that. So I think another one is we want to make our business decisions based on real-time risk and compliance metrics and measures. We want to do it real time. So often you'll get a risk assessment or an annual assessment done, and that is a snapshot in time, good for only that instant in time, because your infrastructure is going to instantly start changing after that, and you're going to start diverging away from what the assessment is. What if you could have real-time compliance real-time risk assessments and continuous compliance. Real-time risk assessments and continuous compliance. So at any time, you can go in with a click of a button and generate a risk assessment based on the data in the system and see exactly where you're at. The same with compliance reports. One of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten from people who use this platform when they get audited, outside audit or outside assessment, is the auditors will say, this is the best system I've ever worked with, and my time to do your audit has been reduced by half of the time I'd usually take to do this audit, because it's all so well organized and I instantly have access to all the information and evidence that shows me you're doing the things you say you're doing. So incredible feedback from auditors who are auditing people that are using the platform. So another key principle is linking security and business with reports and risk in financial terms. What if you could see risk in real dollars? Here is my inherent risk, $500,000. I applied these mitigation controls, and my residual risk in real dollars is 50,000 that I'm left with exposure. And then I can get insurance to cover that risk. So our platform talks in real dollars. So it makes it very easy to conceptualize the report. So when you send your risk-based assessment reports to upper management, they're in real dollars. It makes sense, they get it. And one of the key principles of security is easier management by automating tedious processes. So can we automate processes that we go through over and over and over again? Can we automate those and make them easier? Okay, so let's talk about one of our goals. Key principle number one, a single pane of glass for security management functions and additional integration with outside tools. So this on the slide here, action center, program, risk, compliance, testing, vendors, response, and tools. These are the 8 major areas that our platform covers. And by the way, sneak peek, we charge one low fee for all of this. Other vendors, you have to go buy one or maybe 2 of these pieces, and often the cost of just one of these is more than our cost for the entire platform. So we've priced it so that the SMBs can afford this solution. But you can see the program is kind of how we organize our cybersecurity programs. The risk module is a risk-based approach to cybersecurity. The compliance module, it takes various frameworks and allows us to build our compliance reports around that. Testing allows us to run vulnerability scans and other testing methods and track those. Vendor management allows us, we're only as strong as our weakest link. And so the ability to check the security of our business partners is critical. So how do we track that? And we have a whole module for looking at the security of our vendors and addressing that. And incident response, that is a key component. Having a robust incident response process, and our platform also allows for the setting up of common occurrences and then having playbooks or a series of steps you're going to take in the event of a certain type of category of an incident. So we have incident response tracking and management and organization built into the platform, as well as tools. And here is just a sample of a few of the tools that we have the ability to quickly integrate with. KnowBe4. So let's say KnowBe4 is doing your employee training. There is a nice API, you can pull it in, and you can pull your KnowBe4 data into your cybersecurity management platform and report on how you're doing. How many of your employees are failing the phishing simulation, or how many employees haven't completed their security training yet. And that gets built right into the reports. There's also integration with vulnerability scanning tools like Nessus, Qualys, Rapid7. It integrates with OpenVAS, otherwise known as Greenbone, Black Kite. It integrates with Jira as well as ServiceNow. This is a new integration that was just completed this month, and the system is fully integrated with ServiceNow. So if you're a ServiceNow customer, we can do things like when one of your security metrics goes high, it opens a ticket in ServiceNow and allows you to work that ticket. Conversely, when something happens and there's a ticket open related to cybersecurity in ServiceNow, it can raise and open an issue to track in your cybersecurity management platform. So CRI Advantage is also a ServiceNow vendor, and we have many clients using ServiceNow. So this integration was very good news for us. Another goal in cybersecurity management is to master the complexity of your environment. Anybody who's worked in cybersecurity, and those who've worked as CISOs know, the amount of complexity in cybersecurity is daunting. It's no wonder why 32% of all CISOs are stressed out and want to leave their job in a year. So this key principle, focus on jobs to be done, not on controls. Focus on jobs, not on controls. So for example, the job is you have an antivirus report that needs to be generated weekly and added as evidence. Antivirus report weekly. That's a job, and we can automate that with the system. So the person, your person working for you, maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody working under you, and their job is to generate that report. They'll get an automated email reminder saying, hey, by the way, in 3 days, your antivirus report, weekly report needs to be uploaded to the system. And they get a reminder and they click a link and they do it. It's slick. Another goal, easy compliance. It doesn't get any easier than using our platform. So the key principles covered are 3 and 5. Update risk and compliance measures in real time and automate tedious processes. This platform does that. Imagine, like I said before, instead of having a once a year snapshot in time of a risk assessment of your program, imagine 365 days a year being able to go and click a button and get a complete real-time risk assessment, or click a button and get a compliance report focused on your specific framework that you're using to guide your program. All right, communication, key principle number 4, creating reports for executives and board level non-technical type of people that they can understand in real-time dollars. What you see here on this slide is our little speedometer graph that shows you what your risk was before mitigations were put in place, and then your residual risk that is left after those mitigations are in place. And it's really cool, getting a little geeky here, but under the hood, it runs Monte Carlo simulations, which are statistical simulations, and then they average it over, like 1,000 to 3,000 repetitions to generate these risk reports. So it's based on sound statistical principles under the hood. So ultimately, our goal is to stop worrying about cybersecurity, right? So all the key principles are covered by this concept of one platform to do all of cybersecurity. It's a single pane of glass updated in real time as people do their work. And that is why we can save CISOs up to 80% of their time. We can give CISOs or VCISOs 80% of their time back to focus on what really matters, and that is continuing to grow the cybersecurity program and making it more robust. You can spend your time being strategic instead of being reactive and putting out the next fire. You can start being more proactive and strategic in your thinking about cybersecurity. So just to reiterate, what does our platform do? It does 7 different things all in one platform. It does cybersecurity program management. It does risk management, real-time risk management. It does compliance continuously. At any point in time, you can see how you're doing with your compliance. It tracks your testing results and sees how you're doing with your testing. It tracks and enables you and empowers you to work with your vendors to make sure that they have a robust cybersecurity program. True story, just a couple of months ago, I talked to a client, potential client, who contacted us, and they were in the steel recycling business. And this was not in the Boise area, not in Idaho, so I don't want any false associations. And they had been phished to the tune of $400,000. And we had talked to him, it was like a year ago. And then we talked to him again, and we were trying to, come up with a solution that would work for them. And they had gotten phished for another 100,000. So obviously there's some security processes there that they need to improve. And one of the points that came out in this discussion was their vendors started getting emails of phishing, acting like they were this recycling company. So they phished the recycling company, and then they were using the recycling company to try to phish their business partners, because the accounts payable people saw a name they recognized and they were more susceptible to phishing. So once again, pay attention to your vendor cybersecurity profile and ask them questions. Have a questionnaire that they have to fill out to do business with you, and make sure that they're paying attention to cybersecurity, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. Incident response. We have not only a management platform now that has one of the functions as incident response, we also offer in CRI a 24/7 incident response service. So you can sleep good at night knowing that if you have an event and you're not sure if it raises to the level of an incident, you can pick up on the phone and call us at 3 o'clock in the morning if need be, and we'll be there for you. So, and then if it does raise the level of an incident, we'll help you work that incident. We'll help you identify it. We'll help you isolate it. We'll help you push the bad guys off your network. And we'll help you eventually wrap back around and address what was the root cause. A lot of times that step is skipped. And you really need to understand that so that you don't have a repeat performance the next week, right? You got to find that root cause and get it addressed. And then finally, as we talked about before, we have many integrations with popular tools, including ServiceNow and KnowBe4, and that list is continuing to grow. So just to summarize, here is some of the things that people are saying about the Cyber Advantage management platform. One of them is, in my 46 years of risk, I've not seen a better product. Another one is, this is changing the way I think about my security program. This is awesome. I like it, like a kid in a candy store, salivating. This replaces 3 tools I was paying for and using separately. And that's a huge one. Like I said, most of these individual tools that are just one of the 7 functional areas will cost more than our solution costs for all of them. Okay. So this is so much easier to manage over anything I've ever seen. Our risk register took days to manage. The platform does it automatically. This is way more mature than anything else on the market. And this is a one-stop place for all things cybersecurity. So I would like to summarize by saying, this is the only solution I have seen with these 7 different areas included all into one platform. It's the only solution that I personally know of that I've seen on the market. So
a couple questions for you, Troy. So one of them, how long does it take to implement the solution?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So historically, what we've seen is onboarding for the platform to get really into it and start using it. The onboarding process is usually 6 to 8 weeks. So You get the solution, you deploy it, you start putting in. It starts almost immediately becoming useful because of the section on security program that you can use within days. I've had meetings with clients, and within the first few hours, we've kind of helped them build that out. But to get to the more advanced areas, the continuous compliance and the real-time risk, the build out for that is usually 6 to 8 weeks to get all the infrastructure in. We're working on a really cool integration with ServiceNow. So if you're a ServiceNow user, we are currently trying to work on a way to take your assets, your asset lists of all your systems, your various applications you're using, and importing them into our management platform from ServiceNow. So instead of sitting down there and creating lists of assets, I call them systems instead of assets, because an asset could be the servers, the cloud that run the application that you use to do a certain function, and I call that a system, a body collection as a system. And to populate those systems is a little time consuming. So we're working on integration with ServiceNow, but yeah, 6 to 8 weeks is my estimate to get a majority of the onboarding done for those more advanced modules.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for answering that. So then another question here. I have a bunch of spreadsheets currently that I'm using. Is there some way to integrate these with your solution?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there is we anticipated this, and there is a section under security program that allows you to start collecting all your spreadsheets into one spot and organizing those as you move off of those spreadsheets and start leveraging the system. There's even a really neat import and export function for key areas of the management platform that allows you to import data out of spreadsheets and also export. So we understand that you are probably heavily leveraging spreadsheets right now, and we've tried to make this very seamless to try to migrate onto this modern platform.
Perfect. Thank you. So another question just came in regarding compliance. Does it measure against common frameworks such as NIST, ISO, SOC, HIPAA, etc.?
Yes, yes. Here is what's really cool about this platform. I call it the everything framework platform. This platform includes all the major frameworks: NIST, ASET, CIS 18, all of the modern accepted frameworks, and it has the flexibility and the power to quickly add new frameworks as they come out. And when I say quickly, I requested a framework from the developers, and it was added within days. The new framework was added within days. So all the major frameworks are there currently, and if you're using some esoteric framework that maybe isn't, we can work with you to get the information, and we can have that added in a period of days. Framework agnostic.
Perfect. Okay, hopefully that answered your question there, Tim. How exactly can the platform save me 80% of my time?
Yes, I know it sounds hard to believe when you hear that number that we're going to give CISOs back up to 80% of their time to focus on being proactive and strategic instead of reactive. And a big chunk of that is through automating of repetitious routine tasks. So instead of calling the security engineer to generate the vulnerability report that's needed to check off the box for one of your security controls, the system knows who that is, it knows what the frequency is, and it will automatically give them a lead time reminder that the report is due then. So instead of you picking up the phone and calling and asking and asking and asking for that evidence, the system will track that, know the frequencies, give them enough lead time, and ping them to remind them to upload their evidence to the system. Once that evidence is uploaded, it's very seamlessly integrated into the system and then used when they're creating compliance reports and risk assessments. So that is a very powerful feature, and really the time savings that we've generated for CISOs has been astounding.
Perfect. I'm not seeing any additional questions, but thank you so much, Troy, for your time today, and thank you everybody that joined. If you do have any additional questions, I'm going to put in the chat here an email that you can get a hold of us at, and it's just info@criadvantage.com. One other thing I want to call out in the chat as well, if you're able to see the first thing that came through, just to thank you for joining our webinar. We do have a free blueprint there, and I'll just kind of retype that in the chat. This is a really good framework for you guys. It's totally free. Troy, do you want to kind of talk about?
Let me comment that this is a pretty slick tool that helps you think kind of at a high level about your cybersecurity program. And we took, I think it's like 7 or 8 key pillars of cybersecurity and broken those down a little finer. And it's a really easy to use tool. You just go through and answer a question about where you think you're at. And it's not exactly a maturity model, but it's an approximate security maturity type of a gauge. And you go through and answer the questions, and it gives you a really slick radar graph that you can share with your management about where you're currently at with your cybersecurity. So free tool, we don't charge anything for it. Feel free to go out, hit that link, fill it out, and that is absolutely at no charge.
Yep, and it's completely for your guys' eyes only. It's nothing that gets sent to us. You'll be able to print it and everything from there. So it's really strictly for you guys to understand where you're at with your cybersecurity program and where you need to improve.
If you have questions or you just want to bounce something off me, I don't care. Even if you're not looking to buy anything, if you just have a question, say, you know, I was wondering your thought or your take on this, hit me up. I'm happy to share thoughts and knowledge. It doesn't have to be about closing some deal or something. So feel free to reach out to me. I would love to talk to you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Troy, and thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.